Good evening to you, ladies and gentlemen. We thank you so much for joining us in this edition of the Primetime Newscast on Equinox Television. We have reports from our reporters that in the nation's capital, Yaoundé, that the CPDM political party has again invested Massenyat Njifendi as Senate President, the President of the Upper House of Parliament. It is one of the major fallouts of the meeting convened by the Secretary General of the CPDM Central Committee with CPDM senators and CPDM Senate group members this morning. The election of the Senate Bureau is taking place as we speak, and Massenyat Njifendi may become the second time, or for the second time, Senate President in the country. The Social Democratic Front Party, according to our reporters, is negotiating to have the place or the leader of the Social Democratic Front list in the northwest region of Cameroon, Emilia Nkeze, as Vice President of the Upper House of Parliament, even though the party does not have a senatorial group. They lost 7 seats in the Upper House of Parliament during the March 25th senatorial election that took place across the national territory. Reporters are there. They are, of course, having their ears on the ground. We, of course, will be having more in our subsequent editions of the news. And for the first time, the National Commission for Human Rights and Freedoms has consulted civil society actors as well as public administrators on the draft annual reports on the human rights for the year 2017 in Cameroon. We are already 5 months into the new year, that is the year 2018, and the human rights record of Cameroon for the year 2017 is yet to be published. According to the Vice President of the Chemuta Divine Banda-led organ, inviting civil society actors and administrators for discussions would improve on the quality of reports published. He was speaking during the meeting that took place yesterday in Yaoundé. Professor James Mwange Kobila spoke to our reporter Ike Siri. Let's hear him in the following excerpt.
The workshop aimed at consulting civil society organizations and public administrations on the draft of our annual report on human rights in Cameroon 2017. It's the first time the National Commission on Human Rights is organizing such consultation, because we have noticed that when the state of Cameroon has to present a report to the Organization of the United Nations mechanisms, the state of Cameroon consults civil society. And we have also seen that it will be good to improve the quality of the report of the National Commission on Human Rights, to consult not only civil society but also public administrations on that, on the draft of the report. Thank you.
And the Catholic Church here in the economic capital, Douala, has issued a statement following the alleged attack on the Archbishop of the Metropolitan Archdiocese here in the economic capital, Douala, who equally doubles as the President of the National Episcopal Conference. The Vicar General, in a release today, stated that an incident actually occurred at the section of the Archdiocese hosting the financial administrator. He said that investigations are underway. It should be noted that a loud noise was heard last night behind the walls of the cathedral. The noise, whose origin is not known, reportedly came from nearby bush, and security forces were there in the early hours of this morning to take stock of this situation. We shall be keeping you updated. Still here in the economic capital, Douala, inhabitants are calling on local administrative authorities to keep the town clean. The cry of inhabitants comes at a time when most streets as well as markets, as I said earlier, are inundated with garbage heaps. Our reporter Manjikan Gabriel tells us more in the following story.
It is now very common to encounter stinking and decomposing dirt abandoned along the streets and markets in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. A scenario that many Douala inhabitants believe is very absurd.
It is not normal. We are very sorry to realize that the country is not governed. When already you see everywhere dustbin, it is a sign as if we were in a woeful country of which we are having a president. These are all signs to prove that the country is not governed.
At the New Bell Market in Douala 2 and Dakar Market in Douala 3, the situation is not different, and people are already speculating what could have gone wrong with the garbage disposal company.
The company in charge of this dustbin is as if they have not been paying them. Had it been they were paying them, they could have been collecting it every day as usual. Now that they are not collecting it, it's like it is not moving. So what we really know is that if things are not moving with Izakam, they should change Izakam and bring another company. The nature of the streets and markets have made many to think they are prisoners in their very own country and are now hoping that a liberator will come through the upcoming presidential elections. We are living like prisoners because the order it has been affecting us every day. Of recent, we saw in the TV that there was a new president that was coming in the country. I heard it was Prophet Frank that he has registered for the presidential election. We pray God that he should bring change in this country. The country is a mess already. We can see blood everywhere, cops everywhere, dirty everywhere. We are tired.
For these Douala inhabitants, the president who will be elected should be one who can bring changes.
We should have a president that can govern this country orderly. Yes, instead of us fighting ourselves, sleeping in dirty and thinking that we're having a president of which we don't have any president in the country.
In the midst of this stinking and pungent smell that people take in every day, doctors are advising that nose protectors should be worn and fruits as well as vegetables bought in the market should be washed before consumption, as it could cause digestion problems. Hoping that the abandoned dirt will be removed, traders as well as Douala inhabitants will only have to exercise patience.
Waste management, the problem that has hit the economic capital Douala and Cameroon in general for several months now. International stakeholders in the freight forwarding and logistics sector are now brainstorming on possible solutions to the plethora of problems plaguing the cross-border transport activities, especially in the African continent. They are meeting here in the economic capital Douala within the framework of an annual conference of freight forwarders from Africa and the Middle East. Babla Jonathan tells us more in this report.
Its system has been increasingly recognized as one of the important driving forces for economic growth. In Cameroon and many other parts of Africa, this economic driving force is not exploited to full capacity because of several stumbling blocks. Even at the best of times, there are many challenges that those involved in the road freight and logistics industry must confront when moving across the borders in Africa.
We do have a lot of challenges, putting in mind that we African, we are in the third world country and what we call developing country. So if we are developing country, it means we have the problem also into the infrastructure. Our infrastructure are not very friendly. As we are now embarking to the digital activities and going to the paperless. So these systems, sometimes they're failing and we are not very much used. And even the people who are operating the systems, sometimes they are not very competent enough. And also, we in Africa, we have a lot of power cut. So once the power is off, then you cannot operate. And third, also the roads which we are using to transport our cargo, also they are not good.
These challenges create vulnerabilities to delays, non-deliveries, damage of commodities, loss of fleet, and high operational expenses. Experts say stepping up the productive strength of the logistics sector and fluidity of transport activities across the borders requires more public and private investments.
We are developing countries, our governments are doing, they are trying to work hard to make sure that all things are possible. Putting in mind that we are establishing now in Africa the free trade zone. All the countries are coming to under one roof of the business in Africa.
The aforementioned challenges and possible solutions are being examined at the 2018 annual conference of the Federation of Freight Forwarders Associations taking place in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala.
There is a lot of networking, there is teachings, there is this is conference having a lot of speakers. So by getting knowledge, of course, you will take it into practice when you go back home.
During the 3-day conference, the freight forwarders and other experts from Africa and the Middle East will map the way forward to a more efficient cross-border transportation system, which is crucial to every economy.
An alleged gang of 3 accused of assassination and a man manufacturing guns have been caught and presented to the public in Bafia Center region of Cameroon. The man making local guns is accused of selling them to men of the underworld. The presentation took place at the Bafia Central Police, as Manjikan Gabriel tells us in this report.
Days back, the Bafia Central Police Station was jammed to capacity after the arrest of a young man who allegedly killed another and took away his motorbike. Uba Idrisu, 28-year-old, was presented to the Bafia population. Apart from him, the Central Commissioner also presented 3 other men who allegedly attempted to kill another, still manufacturing local ammunition, though it has been stopped by the Minister of Territorial Administration, Atanganji Paul. According to Nyam Andang, 63 years old, caught in the act of making guns, I have been informed about the decision, but I met with the divisional officer who also told me that we have to stop the manufacturing of ammunitions. I honored the call and I shut down. These don't belong to me. They are owned by others. When they bring, I arrange them. The operation to arrest the 2 others who attempted killing Bisene Uk, 27 years, and Botoro Abiaka Dumas, 22 years old, took place on April 26th. The Central Commissioner for Bafia has this message for the population.
Je profite de cette occasion pour remercier les populations de Bafia qui ne ménagent aucun effort pour nous donner les informations nécessaires pour barrer la voie à la criminalité.
It should be noted that for some time now, Bafia has become the hotspot for men of the underworld.
And on to something else, an ecumenical service has taken place in Benakuma in Menchum Division, Northwest region of Cameroon, to pray for the numerous setbacks rocking the community, the bad roads and absence of potable water, as well as the Anglophone crisis. They are calling for God's intervention in the midst of the hardship. Details with Rabiatu Aliu.
The population of Benakuma in Menchum Division, Northwest region of Cameroon, has decried some socio-economic and political challenges which are affecting their day-to-day life and other major attacks, including the wanton consequences of the Anglophone crisis, which has led to the loss of life, inaccessible roads, and the persistence of witch hunting, which has devastating setbacks on the inhabitants of the locality.
I've gone through terrible things, through an unpredictable illness, through a very funny situation which has handicapped my business. My family is down.
Due to this, the inhabitants of Benakuma organized an ecumenical service to thank God for preserving their lives at the Presbyterian Church of Benakuma.
I don't know what people will not say shrine the day, but they want to look at water.
During the Thanksgiving services, the pastor of the Presbyterian Church of Benakuma called for Christians of the locality to be thankful to God while drawing inspiration from Luke chapter 17, verse 15 to 19.
We worship you, Father, for extending the period when people's tears will be wiped away in this land. May your name be glorified.
For diverse reasons, men of God present during the Thanksgiving joyfully celebrated the goodness of God. They called for peace while using peace plant. The occasion, which brought together members of all the different churches, was spiced with music from some guest artists. Benakuma is found in Menchum Division, northwest region of Cameroon. While awaiting favorable changes in their socio-economic challenges, the inhabitants of Benakuma continue to concentrate on activities which are their sources of income, such as farming, grazing, and many others.
The prayer for peace in Benakuma, that has been a word that has been commonly used in several parts of Cameroon since the Anglophone crisis escalated. Of course, the situation in the northwest and the southwest regions of Cameroon is our topic for tonight. Stay with us, we shall be right back. Once again, good evening to you, televiewers. In the second part of this newscast, we have as guest a senior barrister at law who is the president of the Reform Party. Good evening to you, Barrister Ashu Abo Emmanuel. Thank you so much for joining us tonight on Talking Point.
Good evening, Mimi. Good evening, televiewers.
Thank you for your time. Barrister, you have made an outing recently calling for the government of Cameroon to provide explanations following recent happenings in the BLM division of the southwest region of Cameroon. What exactly was the content of the message that you are sending to the head of state?
Well, we have for some time now been seeing very disturbing images of our army, the Cameroon army, actively burning houses. You see their machine guns, see the soldiers in uniform burning houses. And then we have, these images have been proved because somebody got the images of that village before and the images after, during the burning and then after. You look at all of them, they're all displayed, you see that it is the same place. And in the front of all this, we've been seeing images from other areas. Newspapers have been writing persistently on the same topic and the government has said nothing. So Reform Party decided to come out and ask our government. This is an election year, please. We want the government to tell the Cameroonian people, why should we be seeing this type of situation where our army that is supposed to protect life and property is being seen on videos burning houses that they were supposed to protect? And what does Cameroon gain from burning the houses of its citizens? So we ask the government to explain to us because we don't understand.
The most recent outing by officials from the Defense Ministry indicated that the forces of law and order, they are not the ones behind the burnings and destruction of houses in the Anglophone parts of Cameroon.
The government has a spokesman, and I think to the best of my knowledge, the self-proclaimed military spokesman ought to see the spokesman for the government, because the army is part of the Ministry of Defense, which is under the government. So I don't think that it is proper for us to have a spokesman for the government who is Mr. Iso Chiroma, and then some other person stands up to be talking for the army. The army is part or is under the Ministry of Defense, and the Ministry of Defense is represented when Mr. Chiroma talks. So we are asking the government to tell us, because they have always been saying there is no proof. But this time we are seeing the case of Libialem, this Azi Junction that was burnt. They cannot tell us that those were not Cameroonians, because the people can be identified. The shooting was very, very good. You could see the faces of the people. I mean, you cannot keep denying the evidence. The guns being used, the equipment being used is our equipment. They should not tell lies. Let them tell us the reason.
So Barrister, what can be the impact of your request? What impact can your request actually
Many
bring?
people have been doubting that our army is not burning houses. And you know, this is very damaging. You cannot have an army which is supposed to defend the nation indulging in this type of behavior, and then the minister will come and tell you they are acting professionally, with professionalism. So if it is true that they are burning the houses, then they will have to pay a heavy price during the election, because the population cannot support a government that is authorizing the army to go burning people's houses.
And that's going to be threatening to you, who is looking forward to
well, we did not come out for nothing.
In the presidential election.
In fact, we didn't come out for nothing, because when we go down to the field, people ask us, why is this happening, and you are saying nothing. It means that if you are also in power, you will do the same thing. So we have to come out and ask the government for explanation, because if I am president, I don't think I can authorize that type of thing.
But how can you be taking part in the election with the current state of affairs?
Well, we have to prepare ourselves for the election day and pray that something happens for the elections to go on, for the elections to go on hitch-free. Because I have said it time with that number, I have my doubts as to how these elections are going to take place.
But you are taking part in the election?
We are going ahead. We shall take part.
Okay, Barrister, looking at the recent happenings in the two Anglophone regions of Cameroon recently, things are rather moving from bad to worse. We saw the outing of the governor of the northwest region of Cameroon has actually continued to ban the circulation of motorbikes in some localities in Momo division, but has actually lifted the ban rather in Kotunja division, still of the northwest region of Cameroon. What is your reaction as far as the decision is concerned?
Well, I think these administrators have to understand that the banning of the use of motorbikes is a boomerang that will always backfire and hurt the administration more than it will hurt the population, because in those rural areas there are no vehicles. There are no vehicles. The only means of transport is those bikes. So when you say people they shouldn't use bikes, you are subjecting the entire population to trekking over 30-40 kilometers, and that is not acceptable. So you see, most of these bike riders exercise this as a profession, and it is that profession that helps them to feed their families. You say that they should not work. How are they going to get money to feed their families? So in the final analysis, it backfires on the person who made the order. And we ask the big question, what do we gain from that? When you say they should not use bikes, what do we gain? If it is decreed as a means of stopping the so-called secessionist fighters, we all know that if those people are coming, nobody stands. Nobody stands there. So why ban an activity which you know has no impact on the problem?
When we saw the Minister of Territorial Administration recently preaching peace, especially with motorbike riders in the northwest region.
Yeah, he went to northwest and banned the use of motorbike, went to Kumba and distributed helmets. You see, that is a clear example of the contradiction. They themselves know that they should not ban motorbikes. They shouldn't ban the use of motorbikes. Why do they do it? It is not necessary. Let them address the root cause of the problem. I understand that it is reported that many secessionists use motorbikes. But why don't you solve the problem that has forced people to take to the bushes?
What is the root cause of the problem, and what's the solution, Barrister, according to you?
The solution of the Anglophone crisis?
Of course.
I have said it time with that number. As of today, I believe firmly that negotiations can no longer solve that problem. I believe that. Because with what we are seeing, there are splinter groups all over the territory which are engaging our military in heavy battles, heavy gun battles. So do you think that if Mr. Yuktabe were to tell those people in the bushes that he doesn't know? Those people, he does not know them. Because when they created those things, he was rearrested. If you were to ask them to stop fighting, you think they will stop? I don't think so. The solution to me is a very simple one. The Anglophone crisis was sparked off because of a heap of grievances. The government should immediately decree the opening of the Limbe International Deep Sea Port, because Anglophones say that the territory has been abandoned by government that has persistently refused to develop it. There is no reason that the government gives for closing down all the airports. It is now they managed to put off Bamenda, but Bisongabank was an international airport. Why was it closed? Let them reopen those airports, build the Limbe Deep Sea Port. Even if they're just declaring that it will be built, that can be something. And then all the technical schools that we have this way, that don't exist in the Anglophone region, they should also provide them. Because For an Anglophone to become a technical student now, you must become a Francophone. That is not good, because the Anglophones are complaining that it is assimilation. The people don't want assimilation anymore. So this government should do everything to make sure that the Anglophones have the same opportunities as the Francophones. Now, after 57 years of two states coming together, it is time for an Anglophone presidency. I will say it again. It is time for Anglophones to have their chance at the presidency. So if any person thinks that they can solve this problem without giving Anglophones a chance at presidency, they have to go back to the drawing board.
One of the candidates, Barrister.
I'm a very sure candidate.
Barrister, we are going to move right away to the strike of student lawyers in Cameroon that took a different twist this week in Yaoundé. They actually stormed the defense ministry and they were suppressed as usual by security forces. The justice ministry, rather. Thank you for that correction. And they were suppressed by security forces. Now, the action that they actually undertook, is it the right thing to do?
As a lawyer, I don't have any authority to talk on behalf of the bar. But as a politician, I would say the young lawyers who missed the exam, the bar entrance exam, are very wrong to have carried out that type of movement. From what I heard them say over the television, they were incriminating the Bar Council for having mismanaged the exams. I want to say that the Bar Council organized no exam. They know very well. The exams were convened and marked and proclaimed by the Minister of Justice. They were marked by a commission that was appointed by the Minister of Justice. They all know it. So why do they incriminate the Bar Council for nothing? It was not the Bar Council that managed the exams. It was a commission that was handpicked by the Minister of Justice.
But they are talking about
let's come to the legal,
the election, the examination in general. They are talking about the credibility.
That's what I'm saying.
The fact that students that were not qualified were actually admitted or retained.
I really beg to differ. You see, that exam was organized under a law that exists in this country. The minister respected the provisions of that law, which empowered him to organize the exam. I don't see why any person can say the exam was not credible. Now, it is not compulsory that every person who writes an exam must pass.
But the rate of failure was higher, Barrister.
So you mean to say when many people fail at GCE, they should cancel the exam?
It discredits the
exam as
well.
It doesn't.
Like what we saw in the General Certificate of Education this year, Barrister.
No, it doesn't. We are saying that these young lawyers ought to behave as lawyers. If what they want to attack is the exam, they know the exam was convened by a minister's order.
But they were at the Justice Ministry.
No, the minister's order is an administrative act. The publication of the exam was an administrative act. Why don't they follow the law and attack the thing, first of all, in front of the minister, then they go to the administrative court? A lawyer should not put on his robes and take to the streets to go present legal arguments. Legal arguments are presented before a court of law. I want these young men to learn that they have to start behaving as lawyers.
Barrister,
they have to start behaving as lawyers. They were going to the street. Taking to the street is not behaving as lawyers. They were behaving there at that particular time as hooligans, not lawyers.
Thank you so much, Barrister. That's going to be a debate for another day. Well, thank you so much for coming tonight on
You're welcome.
We hope to have you some other time again.
Thank you.
To our viewers, it was equally a pleasure having you with us in this edition of the Primetime Newscast on Equinox Television. Wishing you a blessed stay in the company of our programs. Until we meet again, goodbye.